flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide, so you may as well come on and give him a try. 'Cause he's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't even move without him. I don't wanna be without him. He's awesome.
Greetings, ladies. How y'all doing? Welcome to ZMR Ministries. I'm Pastor Z, and it's Friday, so y'all know it's time for Girls Talk. Now, tonight we got another hot fire topic, and it's called trauma or drama. And we're going to be talking about how to decipher when your girl is just dramatic, she's a drama queen, or she's going through a traumatic experience or had a traumatic experience and she's just acting out. She's reaching out for help. She's like, I'm screaming, please see me past the exterior. So we're going to dive into that. Y'all know how we do on Fridays, ladies. We don't need no real introduction. I got my girl Bridget. I got Mia back, and I got Kisha. So here we go. I'm a person with a lot of personality. Mia, don't give me that look. So, people are always like, Zon, you so dramatic, and that's fine. My character has color. I know I can be a little extra at times, but, that's just who I am. I have a very lively personality. Now, some people will look at that and say, Zonnie's just a drama queen. She's so extra. She's this, she's that. And sometimes it was hard for people to see past what I was giving them and see what was really in my heart. So how have you guys dealt with that? Have you ever dismissed a friend and just called them dramatic when indeed they were going through something?
When I dismiss somebody, their dramatic is typically tied to lies. And I just dive right into it, right? So,
right.
For me, one of the ways I was able to tell is, does the story add up? Does the story keep changing? Mm-hmm. The details keep changing. Like this, no matter what, 2 + 2 is 4.
All day.
Right. Period. And if people start telling you stuff and it ends up being 2 + 2 is 5 or 2 + 2 is 3, it's not adding up correctly.
But what if they're not telling you anything? Let's just say we're all hanging out and I'm wigging out about stuff that's just unnecessary. Or, I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe they parked in our parking spot. And it's like, some friends are overlooking and be like, y'all just, she's dramatic. She's a drama queen. This, that, and the other.
I walk off. I can't. I don't like unnecessary attention being drawn to me.
Right.
And so I don't do that. And I've had a friend years ago that she would do that. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm here to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go over here and you continue with your conversation. But no. Because you aggravate me. So you're going to bring up something in me that I don't want to come up. So I'm just going to dismiss myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't. And then she's, we end up not being friends. But because that was what she was going through at the time.
Right.
And when I was younger, I just didn't have a lot of tolerance for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just would leave. I would be like, okay, you have fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would.
What about you, Bridget?
I think it depends again on the friendship where I am, because you know your friends,
right?
And then you know your level of drama that you can take,
right? Mm-hmm.
So depending on the person, I don't like a lot of attention either. But now, if you're drawing attention to us, I am gonna walk out.
Right.
We can't have all that attention drawn.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if we're at the house, you're riding like she say in the parking lot. She's like, why people in my parking spot?
Why you gotta do all that? What is that?
Who's doing this?
I
Just saying it's the finger point.
Uh-oh.
Look, I didn't point. So they might point back.
3 other people on the side of you, so whatever.
But yeah, on some of those things, you just say, okay, go look, whatever. You know, you don't pay attention to it because you know there's really nothing behind it. But again, when you know your friend and you know there's a different level of the drama where they're blowing up on stuff that they've never really blown up before on, you got to kind of look into those things because there may be something that's going on that is causing them to act like that.
So, do you think dismissing it, you know, just saying, I ain't got time for that, I'm gonna walk off, is perpetuating the behavior? Is it giving them a pass to continue to act that way?
No, for me, there's a time and a place.
Right.
And when we're out having fun and someone, she had an issue with interracial dating. And so when she would see that, it would make her want to pop off. And so I'm like, no, I'm not about that.
Right.
So, yeah, it was deeply rooted because insecurity, she's hurt because, you know, of how she was handled when she liked a person. And so I'm like, this is just not the time or the place.
Right.
Or we would be out and a guy would be talking, he was like, yeah, I have a child by a woman that's of a different ethnic group. She's like, what? I'm like, don't judge him.
Right.
You know, so stuff like that, I just did not like it. And I told her about it afterwards. I'm not going to address it in the moment because I don't want to embarrass you. And I don't want, you know, we're out to have a good time. But later I did tell her, I was like, that's not cool. You know, we are not here to judge anyone. And just because you have, you know, insecurity or, you know, you was done a certain kind of way, you can't put that on that person.
Right.
So at the time, I did not address it in that moment. But when we was on our way home, I did. Because don't do that.
What was that conversation like though? Because, you know, sometimes when people are blowing up, you know, or you see that they're in a very weird place and you want to have that kind of conversation, it's like you're kind of walking around on eggshells because you don't know how to approach it.
Right.
So how have you guys approached it? And look at Mia, she waiting. She waiting. I'm telling y'all pray for Mia. She got some issues. She crazy.
I ain't denying.
How have you done? Okay, I'll start with you, Mia. Go ahead.
I mean, so for me, I don't like the extra. I don't like all that, you know, attention. I don't like, you know, that stereotypical behavior. It is an aggravating thing for me. So I want to address it at that moment. Like, you know, you were just saying, I want to address it at that moment because that's just going to give, a lot of times they be feeding on attention anyway. And so when you address it at that moment, it's just going to have it to blow up and keep going. But there are, you know, depending on temperaments, depending on personality types or whatever, people have different temperaments, people have different personality types. Now, does that mean I'm going to walk on eggshells? You know, 20 years ago, Mia probably would have been timid and like not really sure how to approach the situation. But I'm not going to walk on eggshells for nobody. If you're out of order, you're out of order.
Right.
And so we're in public, like you said, it's a time and place for everything. And so, yeah, you know, having fun, you know, clowning, doing whatever, that's one thing. When you take it to another level to now it's just this drama and you're bringing attention and people are staring and, you know, it's too much. We got to talk about it. And because you are in a place that you don't want to hear it or you use your personality to keep people at bay, because a lot of times people like that use their personality to keep people at bay, so that nobody corrects them, nobody tells them where they are.
It's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, so, you know, because everybody is afraid, like, oh, I can't say this because if I do, she gonna pop off, she gonna this, she gonna that. And it's like, if I have to be afraid to say something to you, then number one, we don't need to be friends. That's the first and foremost thing. But number two, like Bridget said earlier, you have to know your friends. If this is not typical, then you know there may be something traumatic going on. And then if it's like long-term friends, you know, elementary school, you know, we use the term friend loosely. But I mean, if you know this is how they are, they don't know how to eat in public, they don't know how to act in public, they pops off or whatever, you know, it's just certain places you don't invite them.
Right.
You know, I'm going here, you can't go. I'm not even going to tell you about it. You can't go. It's just what it is. I'm not going to tell you. You're just going to look and see some pictures.
Right.
You know, and that's just what it is. And I remember, I think I told Zonya this. I remember when I first started traveling and letting people come with me on trips and stuff like that. Some of the people I knew, some of them I didn't. And what I would say is, I don't babysit grown people. I don't babysit grown people. Now, we going over here together. Now, if you want to go off and do things on your own and be like little Natalie was in Aruba, then I'll tell your parents that, you know, you went off and went with somebody or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to be telling some 30-something-year-old woman, don't go stranger, don't drink behind a stranger,
Right,
you
right.
know, don't get drunk, leave with your friend. Hey, if you're not at this airport when it's time for us to go, oh, okay.
There it is.
I know for me, Mia said something that really stuck out to me is temperance, right? Now, in my 20s, I am a dramatic person, but not like exploding in public and things like that. But I remember in my 20s, my anger was not contained. So I would get upset and, spaz out, right? And so, of course, with maturity and healing and deliverance, that began to change. So now here I am at 38. And so in the last decade, my temperance has changed, where it's like you learn your limitations. And so I remember I had a group of friends, we were all very close from high school, and over time, over the years, we would all have these petty arguments, just dumb stuff that would blow out of proportion. Then the next day we see each other, it's like nothing ever happened. And you laugh about that kind of stuff, but then you tend to get older, you like, that don't work for me. And so what began to change in me is because of things that I was going through. I had gone through very traumatic events. And so it was like, all of that didn't work for me no more. Because it was just like, I've gone through too much. And so this right here, that's giving me bad energy. And so it's like when you come out of traumatic environments, the smallest things, it's like, I can't deal with that.
Right.
And I remember we were all on this trip, and one of those little taps, just like one of them got upset, and then the whole mood of everybody changed. And then we went to church, and the mood was like that in the pews.
Wow.
And I remember I got up to go use the restroom, and when I came out the restroom, I just never went back and sat with them. I sat somewhere else because I was just like, I can't deal with that.
Right.
I was like, all of this walking on eggshells, and I don't know why she mad. Girl, she just blew up for nothing, and da da da. It's like I was in a space mentally and emotionally where I was like, that's too much for me.
Right.
And so what began to happen was my outings and my visits began to get far and in between. And I would see them do, of course, and then some stuff, they ain't got to be explained. You just know what's happening, where they do stuff together. And I was good with that.
Right.
Because I was just like, if I'm coming over here to have a good time, to kick back, and then an argument ensues, it's just like, all right, So the next time I'm invited somewhere, I'm either not going to come, or I'm going to tell them, I'm good on that. And so, I'm not friends with them anymore, clearly, obviously. Whatever. That's a whole other situation. But temperance is big. It's big, and it's like what worked for me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, yesterday, this morning, wherever it is, it doesn't work for me no more.
Right.
And so I'm saying that to say, when it comes to trauma or drama, we understand with trauma does come. Because sometimes it's undealt with emotions,
Right.
and you're still unpacking, so you're unsure of how to deal with it.
Right.
And then you'll find yourself acting out in ways that you never thought, because I'm just now experiencing this, and I really don't know how to handle it.
Right.
And so it's like I wanted to talk about it, because sometimes people will just look at their friend like, girl, you're a trip.
Right.
And it's like, do you ever stop to say, are you okay?
Right.
Like, you tripping, you spazzing out, and maybe that's their normal behavior, but it's like, at what point do you stop and say, okay, this isn't working, so let's talk about it and see what's the matter. Let's get to the core of the situation.
I think again it goes back to knowing your friend. So it's even the same thing like you said when your brother passed. I'm gonna give you time. And
Right.
it's okay, and we may be talking, and I might bring it up. If something happens and you get upset over the littlest thing,
Right.
and at that point you hang up in my face. And she knows it's one of my biggest, I can't stand it. At that point I'm not about to dismiss you.
Right.
And say, why would you do that? We're not talking anymore, anything else like that. No, I know you did that out of hurt. When you're sitting there, and I may never even bring it back up. Because I'm like, I know you did not do that. I know you're hurting right now. You know where it is, because that's not the root of the problem.
Right.
So you have to know your friends. And if they're really your friend, you will take the time to ask that question.
Right.
And it goes back to the value of the relationship.
Right.
And that's even the same thing where I go, I had a friend, we associates now, you know, but it's like, again, when it goes back to...
I know who you are. No,
you don't know him? So it's like when you go back to addressing things.
Right.
So that was one thing that I addressed, and I even addressed and said, these people aren't your friends while you showing out and trying to impress. They talking about you.
Right.
You know, and that was one of the things I said, they're talking about you. And, you know, when you sit there and because I'm with you, they're associating what you're doing with me. That's not how I carry myself. You know, we're sitting there and then it was kind of like, oh, I understand, I hear you. And then I just kept seeing it and seeing it and seeing it. So they just saw me less and less and less.
Right.
Because I've addressed it, I've said it, you know, and honestly, that's not how I want to be associated with it. You know, so at that point, that's not trauma, that's just who you are.
Right.
You know, and that's how you have to see it because sometimes it does take at this point where we go back and we say, now we need to evaluate your mental health.
Right.
Because if I know there's some things that may have happened or something may have happened and you're not ready to open up about it, you know, and if I continue to see a change, you know, in you and I value our friendship, I'm going to ask. I'm going to bring it up. And then depending on your response, that'll kind of determine it.
Right.
If you're avoiding it, or if you close down, or now it's like, well, what are you asking for? I think, okay, obviously something's wrong.
Right.
So I'm going to give you some time. And when you're ready to open up about it, let me know. I'll be here.
Right. So when you think of the concept of patience, right? You know, because we can all say we've all been patient with one another and something. I know they don't be patient with me, honey. I ain't gonna even argue that. That's facts. Like my baby sister says, she don't ever say facts with a T. She say facts. F-A-X. And so you know, I'm shut up, Mia. I'm willing to.
You can shut up,
Whatever. I'm willing to admit that because I have gone through so many things, and it's not to say that other people haven't gone through, but just like I said, unpacking a lot of issues. It's like you're trying to get to the core of everything. And so when you think about being patient with someone, you know, in my opinion, and I'm speaking, you know, from these ladies sitting here with me on this panel. Is this a panel? Is it a panel if it's just chairs? Okay, that was so random. Whatever. I'm just, you know. But the ladies sitting here with me have been patient throughout the years. And so they've dealt with, you know, attitude flares, you know, what I would consider temper tantrums, you know, being, I'm just saying, you know, I know me. I know I can be real ugly, right? And so, not anymore, because God is a deliverer. Amen. Thank you. What, Bridget? Bridget still hits it hard sometimes.
I was looking at the audience.
She was sitting there trying to hold up that so bad. It was like she's staring at the camera because she's like, if I move my eyeballs, she's going to be like, well, what you mean by that? But it's like, they've been patient. And so it's like y'all were unrelenting. And y'all would give me the space. Y'all would give me the time. Even when y'all didn't understand. Even when it hurt you guys. It's like, at what point do you know I can be patient with this person? Or, you know, that's just not going to work for me anymore?
I mean, I think two things come up when you ask that question. First, you said something earlier that with trauma comes drama.
Right.
And so understanding that with trauma comes drama does not mean that the person is dramatic.
Right.
That's two totally different things.
Right.
And so if you have a pattern of dramatic behavior, like I said earlier, I feel like a lot of dramatic behavior, it ties to someone who is either living a lie or not an authentic self, because that's attention seeking.
Right.
It's always some type of attention seeking. And so you may fluff the story, you may give it more flair, you may do a whole lot extra just to get that attention. Right. And so whereas trauma is going, you know, you living through some type of trauma, you're going to have some type of drama that comes with it. And so as a friend, as somebody who cares about your friend, then you're there to walk them through the stages of healing that come with the trauma. Right. At the same time, like Bridget said, you know your friends. Right. And so for me, I tend to know all of my friends and just their different personalities and what they like and what they don't like. And so for example, we had, I can't remember which president it was, but it was one particular president that we had that did not like broccoli. does not like broccoli. And so therefore, he made it an order that on Air Force One, there will be no broccoli
Or
on
even
the
in the White
plane,
House.
period.
Yeah.
No
I remember
broccoli.
that,
Because
yeah.
I'm not even going to give you an opportunity to serve me something I don't even like.
Come on.
And so, you know, for me, I take the same concept with my friends. I'm a real finicky eater. I don't eat condiments. I don't eat, so a lot of stuff I don't like. But if I invite you to my house, even though I like this and you like that, I have both. Because I know that I wouldn't serve you something that you don't like, or I would withhold something from you that you need.
Come on.
And so it's a matter of knowing how you value the relationship and what you're willing to do. Because compromise is required for any relationship.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of what you're willing to do. Am I willing to do a little extra cooking in the kitchen so I can appease you? Or am I going to be selfish and say, nah, we having spaghetti because that's what I want.
Right.
And if you coming to eat here, you're going to eat my spaghetti. That's easy. And that's not how relationships go.
No, not at all. Not at all. Keisha?
As far as patience, I think I'm a very patient person.
Very.
I try to be. It takes a lot of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to pray, especially with someone that's going through a traumatic experience. I need God to really help me and give me self-control because I have my own triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes.
Oh, that's good.
I mean,
I'm gonna hit on that when you get through.
well, yeah, because there are some things that, you know, friends can say, and I know they're hurting, but it still rubbed me the wrong way.
Right,
So I have to fight and not to react in a certain kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and now, well, before I used to just walk away. That was my thing. Okay, I address it. You still, okay, we're not going to be friends anymore, or let me just move around. But now I'm more understanding, I'm more patient because I understand now that sometimes people act out because they are hurting.
Right.
And because I've gone through my own situations where people have been patient with me, I'm more understanding with people. Whereas, like I said before, I used to hold everything in, and so I just didn't understand you acting out. Like I just didn't be like me, be quiet, you know, just be chill.
Right.
But now I understand people, they do things differently. So I pray. That's one of the fruit of the spirits that I've really been trying to adapt and adopt within my daily life, being more patient with people and not so quick to cut them loose because they're acting in a way that I don't understand. And having a child, Lord Jesus, has taught me how to be patient because my son acts out in certain ways I don't understand, but yet I'm still not going to cut him loose. I'm still going to give him mercy and grace. And so
And be long suffering.
Long suffering, yes. And so I'm trying to do that with my friends because I wouldn't want anybody to cut me loose in my time of trying to figure out what's going on with me in my time of struggling. So, in my time of struggle. So, now I think I have more patience with people because I know sometimes it's the surface is how they're acting.
Right.
Let's get to the core of it. And so I don't want to just cut a person loose. Now, if we've addressed and I tell you, you know, hey, don't talk to me like that. You know, and they were like, look, okay, don't talk to me like that. Or do we need to talk about it? Do you need some moment, some time alone? And if you continue to mistreat me in a certain kind of way or speak in a way that then I'm just gonna pray for you for a distance. I'm just gonna pray from a distance because I am not gonna allow myself to be mistreated by anyone.
Right.
Anyone.
And you know what? When I think about drama is not always loud.
Right.
Sometimes chaos is internal, right? And I know with me, when I'm really going through, I get isolated.
Yeah,
I ain't calling, I'm not doing, you know, like that's just who I am. And sometimes that can be very offensive, you know, in friendships and relationships because they're like, you know, you should feel open to come talk to me. You know, you need to talk to somebody. And it's like, I ain't there.
Right.
I ain't there. Give me time to deal with myself first, and to be implosive, whatever that is.
Like
and you
that
may,
hurts you.
right, and it's like, you know, that may be unhealthy or you may deem that unhealthy, but that's what works for me. And so it brings me to what Keisha was talking about when it comes to triggers. Like, if you know you're in a place, I know when I am fuming, it's just best if I stay away from everybody.
Right.
Because I know my triggers. I know when stuff is getting on my nerves, my mouth get real loose. You know, I say things that are hurtful, that you don't mean, you don't intend to say, or mistreat people. You know, you treat them very coldly, you give them the cold shoulder, and before you know it, when you come out, you're apologizing, but the damage is done.
Yes.
You know, it's almost like a tornado, you know, when you're in your tub or in a closet and you hide and it done passed over and you go back outside and birds are chirping, tweet tweet, the sun is shining, but you look around, it's total destruction.
Right.
And it's like, okay, yeah, it passed over, but the damage is there. And so how do you all deal with your triggers when it comes to people, dealing with people like that? You know, whether it's a moment, whether it's habitual behavior, you know, how do you manage your triggers when dealing with people like that?
Like Kisha say, sometimes I have to separate myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, if I know you're in a bad place and you may say something that you're not going to be able to take back, because that's just like a tornado.
Yeah.
You can turn around, like you're saying, all day long, you still have the debris that's there.
Yeah.
No matter how much you clean up, it's never going to be how it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing, because it may have taken the whole plot and you don't know where to go from there, or you may still have to rebuild and change some things.
Yeah.
But you still remember that day that it happened. And it's there, and you really have to work to try and forget it. So if you're aware and you know that someone is in a bad place, I have to step away sometimes because they need to process what's going on.
Right.
You have to give them the opportunity to process that. And if you can't respect that, because it's a matter of respect to me, and at the same time, when you're going through in the communication, and then also how when I say, okay, am I ready to go ahead and break completely away from you? If you're not willing to compromise on your side as well.
Right.
You may be in a non-compromising position. I don't care. I'm hurting right now. I don't care what you think, whatever else. Then I need to separate myself from you at this point. Because right now we're not viewing each other as friends.
Yeah.
I'm just viewing myself, my needs. This is what I want, and I don't need you right now. It's not saying that I don't love you, I don't want you, you're not my friend, but we have to respect our relationship at this time. So I gotta let you get into a good place. I need to stay in my good place. And that goes back to how I value you and I value our friendship, but I value myself too. Because the help has to come, I wanna have to have the help first before I can even allow my friends to come in to help me.
And you know what? It's hard to see in chaos.
Yeah.
And so the person that's hurting, that's being dramatic, you know, their perception and views are skewed, right? And so what they see or what they hear is something contrary to what you're delivering.
Right.
And so what happens is everybody around becomes an enemy.
Right.
Because
her ears hear different.
Right. And so it's like you have to take that into consideration, you know, even when trying to have a conversation.
Right.
You know, because it's just like it's pointless. It's a dead end. You're not gonna see it the way I see it because you're seeing through a dark glass. Yeah.
I mean, I know for me, I think I handled things differently years ago, and as I've grown, I'm really big on respect and boundaries. And so one of my things has been, and has been for a long time, is I just don't talk to people a certain type of way.
Right.
I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna cuss you out. Those are just things you'll never hear from me. I don't care how mad I am. And so I set a boundary that I expect. I don't care how mad you are. I expect you to talk to me the same way. And the moment you go over that boundary, because I set that boundary there, the moment you step over that boundary tells me you are disrespecting me now. And so, you know, there's one thing to, because we have to also hold our friends accountable. If we're going to say we're going to be in it for the long haul and be there for the trauma and the drama that's associated with the trauma, not dramatic, but the trauma and the drama associated with it, then we have to also hold, you know, them accountable too for whatever. And so one of my biggest things is I set boundaries. I set very clear boundaries. And, you know, if you cannot respect that, even in anger, because I mean, you know, this is probably an extreme analogy, but I mean, if you're in a relationship with somebody and I make you mad because I cook you what you want, you gonna slap me in my face because you're mad? That's not okay. Right. So just because you're angry does not make it okay to lash out. And so you have to be able to hold people accountable when they are lashing out to say, that's not okay. I understand that you're hurt. I understand that you've gone through some things. I understand all of that. And you can deal with it how you want to deal with it, but you have to also remember that there are consequences to that too.
Right, and it's, you know, I want to say this, guys, because, you know, you always want to leave room for growth. And I'm all for setting standards. You know, me and Mia have been friends for a long time. And she's seen my levels of growth. And it's like, I know her standards. If I could just be honest, I can't even say that I've never raised my voice at her or cussed at her because I know Mia's standards. It was just like, you know, it was me growing. Like, I ain't even going there, whatever, because that's just reality. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, well, I respected my friend's standards. And that hasn't always been the case. It wasn't like that for me. You get what I'm saying? Like, my anger, when it was out of control, it didn't discriminate. And so whenever it would get in situations, it didn't matter who you were, it was just lashing out. And so what I was saying earlier about the patients, it was like they left room to grow. And so it was like, even though Mia had these standards, there were times where I would get, you know, loud and she was like, why you yelling at me? why get down? Like, she was just immediate, okay, you can say that, you don't have to raise your. And I'm like, Mia, I'm upset. Okay, you can be upset, I understand it, and you have every right to be upset, but you don't have to yell at me. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'll holler at you later. And that right there, she would be like, okay. You know, and we would talk whether it was later that day or a few days from there after I calmed down, and I'm like, okay, I'm good now. That's still respecting her boundaries, because it was just like, okay, let me just get off the phone with you. Right. Because your standards ain't working for me and my attitude right now. And so that's why I'm saying, I know there's somebody watching, and it's just like, you know, bump your standards. I'm mad right now. And a lot of times it's like, you need that extra little room to grow. And it's a blessing when you have people around you that give you grace. Right. They give you grace. And that is, grace is not just from Jesus. You know, he teaches us to extend grace. And I keep pointing back at myself because I can't speak for these ladies. I'm just speaking about how they have shown patience, long suffering, and grace to me. You know, through my years of growing, and it was growing pains. Because when you are growing, everything around you is affected. Yeah. Everything connected to you is affected. Every relationship is affected, and you're forcing them to grow with you. And it's like, this ain't my growth process. Right. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's challenging them in areas. So muscles are growing for them as well. Like, okay, what I thought I wasn't able to deal with somebody like her. Right. Because with all of us, you know, it's almost like people have questioned, how are y'all even friends? Right. And most of the time it's because they like, okay, I know Zanya. I know Zanya. How are you even her friend? And they're like, you know, Zanya cool, she's sweet, you know, she all there, which I am, praise God. You know, I whatever. But but it was like, you know, the grace factor that's extended, you know, will help people help you. Right. Because, you know, of course, we all have our different triggers. And so Mia knows that's a trigger for me. At the end of the day, you know, it's not just about respect. She knows her triggers. And so when you get to the point where she's saying, now you're disrespecting me, that's a problem. That's a problem. And so, you know, behind that problem is a problem. Absolutely.
Oh, I know that.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
You know, that is my thing. There are a couple of triggers for me. You say, I honestly don't remember any conversation when you yelled and I just been like, hey. I don't, so for me, maybe that is just the friendship and the grace of it. Right. I have no recollection of those conversations. I don't have a recollection of us ever falling out.
No, not falling out. Just be mad. And she was just like, okay.
I mean, I have recollection of being mad at other people in situations with other people, right? But not necessarily me. So, I mean, you know.
She don't got on my nerves, y'all. Bottom line.
Just saying. You know. But that is there are certain, you know, definitely certain triggers, because I know I work extra hard to make sure I respect all my friendships, all my relationships. So when it boils down to it, if I feel disrespected, that's like,
And then too, I know a big thing with me, you know, with Mia and her standards, like in my immaturity and not knowing how to deal with, you know, my temperance at the time. You know, hearing somebody say, you know, this is just my standard. You need to respect that. Don't yell at me. And it's like, first, who you talking to? You gonna make me do something? It's like, yo, that's mad inappropriate. First of all, and it's like, you know, you have to grow to that level. Right. And deal with what works for you. And I know for me, a principle now, and Bridget knows, I say this all the time, you don't have to change. When something happens, first conversation. I'm not one of those people that let stuff just add on, where I come back and be like, so the first time I didn't say anything in February, and then last November I didn't say nothing, and now it's March 3 years later. You know, I just want to tell you this affects me. No, I'm going to tell you first and foremost, hey, that right there didn't work for me. You know, this is not going to work. That's one of my triggers. I care about you. I want us to have a good relationship, but that's not going to work. And if the person feel like, well, this is the way I am, that's fine. I just know right then I can't be around you. Where I would just, you know, when I was in my younger years, it was like I would still go around the people, and I would have a hint of, I'm going to see if you're going to show out. Right. You know, which is, I mean, y'all, I'm telling you, God has brought me in a long way. Because I was one of them try me people. And so it was like, now I look at it and I'm just like, that's a trigger for me. Yeah, so I'm not gonna deal with you now because it's just unnecessary. Kisha?
I get it. Like I said, I know certain things trigger me. And so I just try to, and I was opposite of you. I wouldn't say anything.
Right.
Until it just got to a point where I'd be like, I don't want to deal with you. You wonder why I'm not answering the phone, returning your text. Is because in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what you did.
Right, yeah.
Right. But now that I'm older, it's not fair for me to assume. You know,
That's
so
good.
I try not to assume that people know that they've offended me. And so I'll tell you, I'm like, hey, don't talk to me like that. I don't like that. And if they were like, I didn't mean that, I'm like, well, I'm just saying.
Right.
Because I'm trying to keep myself in a peaceful state of mind. But like you said, as far as a person doesn't have to change, now that I'm growing and I just trust and believe that God is putting me around all types of people, all types of attitudes. And so I'm praying to continue to try to be like Jesus. And so I'm going to have to come across these people, and for whatever reason, I have to change.
Yeah.
So I'm always praying, Lord, change me. What is about this person? What is it about this character trait? What is it about this behavior that is rubbing me the wrong way? But you know, put disrespect aside, but it's something about them that makes me not even want to be around them. So it could be a co-worker, somebody that I can't run from because they're a co-worker, somebody in the ministry. So now I'm going inward and saying, okay, God, what is it about me that this person sets me off? They don't need, their behavior is bothering me. They don't even have to, just their demeanor is bothering me. Yeah, just, and so I've been praying, God help me. And so what God has been showing me that there are things in my childhood or a person, right, did something, offended me, and I didn't say anything, and I've been suppressing all those emotions. So now that I'm an adult, and I can walk away, I'm like, no, I know how you are. I know how this is going to turn out, and I judge them too quickly. And so now I'm trying to be more patient with people, and I'm going inward to check myself. So if someone has drama, they're popping off, I'm like, okay, Jesus, okay, you all right? You good? And I'm like, okay. But even after that, I'm still going to pray. God, help me deal with that because it's going to continue. If it's not this person, it's going to be someone else. So, and me, you know, wanting to counsel people, I can't be so quick to dismiss a person. Now, my friend, I have my friends. My friends know. We just don't. You know, you attract like people.
Right.
And so the people that I don't have a lot of close friends. Anymore. I have associates, I have friends I've grown up with, but my close knit of circles, we're kind of like-minded, right? Even when they pop out, they be like, girl, forgive me, but I just got to go out for a moment. I'm like, okay, because it's not personal. Now, if you start pointing at me and help, Lord, Jesus, I'll be like, you know what, you need to go sit down, I'm going to go over here. Because that's happened to me with a guy friend. You know, he was going out, like, well, you want to talk? I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, but I don't want to talk. And he's telling me I don't want to talk about it. But I'm like, well, you know, and then I got my head bit off, right? And I was just like, but you know what? You told me you didn't want to talk about it. Right. So I have to, what is it about me that felt like I needed to help him in that moment? And that's a different side of it. But sometimes we can push people to pop off and be dramatic. And so that's why, like I said, I'm always now saying, God, help me deal with certain people, certain situations, because different things could be happening. I've dealt with all kinds of people, whereas before I said I would run and hide and be like, no, I'm not gonna deal with that. Now the more I try to hide, God is keep putting me in front of these people, around certain types of people. And these are people that I would never be friends with, but now we're becoming closer. They're not my close-knit friends, but they're still someone that God have in my circle now to care for and pray for. So it's like he's saying, you're gonna have to check it because people are hurting and they need help. Dramatic or not.
The thing is, especially when you integrate ministry, because you deal with so many people and you have to be flexible, you have to be adaptable, right? And so what God will do before he just throws you out there is he'll take you through a series of tests. It's almost like, you know, when somebody is dating someone and it's like you see everybody they date and every dude is pretty much the same. And so they're somewhere where they keep failing the test, right? And so you'll find yourself in the same situation dealing with the same kind of people,
Right.
and you just like, I swear, every time if I change jobs, there's a person like this there. If I go to church, it's a person like this there. The girl at the grocery store, it's a person like, I was in the parking lot,
Right.
and it's like God he continues to put you in the same situation because he's like, I need you to pass this.
Yeah.
Because when I send you out into the vineyard, I don't need you popping off. I don't need you rolling your neck. I don't need you dismissing people because I used to be like, baby, I'll cut you off.
Right.
And God was like, you ain't fit for the kingdom. I mean, told me flat out. And I was like, well, tell you that, what you mean? I got you called me, I'm chosen. You know, and he was like, not doing that. When I cut you off. And I was like, but you Jesus.
Right.
You know? And we think it's an exception.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit.
Right. I'm like, the same, girl, am I falling? Oh, I thought I was falling. I was like, I'm falling.
Listen, we don't care.
But you know, it's like the same power that rose Jesus from the dead, that worked in him while he was walking. The same Holy Ghost he left here for us is living in us, is dwelling in us. And so it's like, okay, stop saying I can't deal with that. Yeah, you can. You don't have to. And so what are you going to do when you out in the vineyard working and trying to win souls for the ministry? You're going to run into some old Zions.
Listen.
That's popping off, that has an attitude, that hasn't turned a hurt. And so now when I see those kind of people, I be like, child, girl, go sit down somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you tend to be more patient. You tend to be more understanding. You tend to develop that muscle of long suffering, of showing of showing grace, because not only did you see it extended to you, but it's like, okay, I understand that. I see past the person, and I'm now looking at the heart. Yeah. Bridget, what was the question we was talking about?
I got patience.
Oh, huh?
I was the last one.
Oh, was you last one? Oh, want me to make up? What are we going in?
Look, I was right on that one.
She was like, you started with me. But when you think about, you know, working that muscle, that's a process.
Yes.
And so it's not easy, like Kisha said, you know, y'all, that is hard. And when I was talking about earlier, when I was saying when you are connected to people who are growing, you feel those growing pains too. And so I want to know what it's like on the backside of you feeling somebody else's growing pains and you're having to be patient. Like, what is that process like for you all?
Draining.
Okay, that's great.
Straight to the point. Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah.
It can be draining.
Right.
You know, sometimes because I am a patient person too. A lot of times too, though you may be having issues, you're not the only one being worked on. I'm being worked on too.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I'm trying to have patience to understand where you're coming from, and at the same time too, there may be some things that you hidden on me. You know, that's there because I might be going through something too, and it's the same. We're opposites. So I absorb it, I embrace it, and some stuff people may say it really deeply hurts. But again, that's stuff from back that I'm working on right now, you know, for me. So it's like, okay, now I have to absorb the fact that you just hurt my feelings, and now it's extra painful because that hit something that was inside of me, you know, too. So now I'm dealing with, okay, Bridget, get over it, you know, whatever else. And then at the same time too, whatever you said hit my insecurity real hard.
Right.
You know, so I'm hurt by you, I'm hurt by the past, now I'm trying to deal with all of this at the same time, and then you start sometimes begin questioning self, you know, when you're there, because you're not the only one that's hurting. So now you carry on, I have this issue, I have that issue, you know, everything else. And it's a growth process where you have to look at yourself too and say, okay, why did it hurt me that much? At the same time too, why did I feel like I needed to help you? You know, or, you know, it's just different questions now you have to propose to yourself. You know, that's over there, and those are lessons learned. Because at the same time, when you're growing, it may cause a growth in this other person too, because of more hurt that now you've built onto yourself. You know, taking on things that you should have never taken on in the beginning. You know, when you're sitting there, but at the same time too, if both of y'all come out at the same time, it's a good thing. If not, when you see the growth from the other person, you know, you get excited about it. I'm happy to see the growth. You know, the areas that you've come, and at the same time, I'm happy to see the areas that I've grown too, because of some of the things that I've gone through, trying to take on more than what I should have ever taken on. You know?
And you know what I've noticed? It's been, I mean, all of our relationships, or all of my relationships with you guys individually, it's been a constant exchange. Like, none of us are the same persons at all. Who Bridget was, you know, 10 years ago is not the same person. Who Mia was, who Kisha was, we were all different people. And it was constant, even though it was growing pains where it may have started, where it's like Bridget's been dramatic. You know, I'm going to sit here and go through her growing pains with her. Like she said, it's really iron sharpening iron, because when you think you're pulling her, trying to help her, then all of a sudden some tugs at your heart. Now she's and it's just like, okay, wait a minute, I didn't know I needed to work on this. And so it's like God is using both of the entire situation to work for both of y'all goods, where it's like I thought I was feeling your growing pains, but he was really trying to grow me in this particular area.
And I think too, again, he puts the right people in your life.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to the question of when it's time to go. You know, when you're sitting there, the right people will be placed at the right time. And sometimes your season may be a little bit more extended than the next person. And this person may have just been here to get you through this. Because there may have been some things in you that you didn't even realize that you had, but I needed to interact with you to figure that out. And it may, you just may have needed to prick that to draw it up out of me, and that's all I needed you here for. And it may say, no, but I need you to sit here because of the patience and the grace that you have. And I know you can take this. She needs to learn that from you where I'm taking her.
And you know what? Mia and I have a friend named Calvin. And Calvin always says, I don't care who you are, you're the villain in somebody's story. And so even the people that you're like, you know, they're no longer in my life, we're not friends no more, this, that, and the other, you know, on the other side, they're probably saying things like, we cut her off. And it's like, what? You know? You know, and you tend to think that you're just, I'm good. You know, I didn't do anything wrong, but you don't know where people are in their life. And so, you know, it's forcing them to grow in an area. And, you know, and it's okay, y'all. Some people are seasonal. And just because they're seasonal don't mean they're bad.
No.
Because in that season that they were in your life, God probably did use them to help you, pray for you, you know, endure you, nurture you, whatever it was, they were good for that season. And it's okay that they can't go with you to the next. And I think sometimes we attach negativity with that. Everybody can't go with you to your next season. And that's fine. That's fine. Maybe they're not equipped. Maybe where you're going is just not in alignment with their purpose. And so stop always saying, baby, everybody can't go. You're right. And guess what? You can't go with them either. So what does that say about you? Mia, I'm sorry. What was the question? Oh, the backside of the growing pain. Baby, y'all good. Help us, Lord.
It's Friday.
I mean, the backside of the growing pain, I mean, I agree with everything that Bridget said. I think also during that time of the trauma and all that other stuff, it's almost like having a friendship that's not reciprocated at that time, because everything is about them at that time. And so they may have absolutely no clue and may never know. They may never know what was going on in your life during that period of time, because everything was about them, you know, their issue, their trauma, their drama, and they had no idea you had your own trauma and drama going on as well. And so, you know, the patience and the love and the care that you have allows you to extend grace and everything without, you know, withholding anything from them and yourself. But so I think on the back end, it can feel that relationships are not reciprocated at that time. And then in addition to that, I wouldn't say necessarily draining. I know it's different because again, it depends on your temperament. So if you have a particular temperament or you know, you are an introvert or whatever the case may be, certain things drain you faster than other things. But I also, for me, I think it was a matter of being able to identify what is the pulse of the relationship right then. Like no matter what else is going on, what's the pulse of the relationship? And if I can remember the pulse, if I can keep my thumbprint to the pulse of this relationship and not lose the pulse, because you know life is gone. Once they, you know, you go in the ER and something's happened traumatic, first thing they're gonna do is try to search for a pulse. You know, and when they can't find a pulse, that's a problem. And so how do you know when it's time to walk away? When you don't find a pulse anymore. And when there's no longer life in that relationship, pulse is gone. That's how you know, okay, this is no longer a relationship benefiting me or that person. There's no pulse there, there's no reaction, there's no connectivity, there's no nothing. And so I think for me, I know a lot of my relationships, I've learned long suffering and you know, that they are extended relationships. I have very few friends that are, you know, a year or two. I think it was Drake who did a No New Friends type song. You know, I don't have a lot of friends that are brand new to my life. And typically the brand new people that come in don't usually stay very long. All my other relationships are very long, and I, you know, we've been kicking it for many, many years. And I can honestly say of all my extended friendships, I've never fallen out with any of them. I've just not. I've never fallen out with any of them. We've had different exchanges. They've had their days of trauma. I've had my days of trauma, and it's just gone back and forth as a relationship. And anybody that, you know, when it's learned that I'm not in a relationship with that person again, it just wasn't supposed to be.
And I agree with what everyone has said. And for me, because a lot of times I find myself interceding for people and I feel it. Like, I feel it to the point where it's agony for me. And that's just how God has built me, how He's designed me. And I used to feel like it was going to overtake me. But again, I had to learn how to cast my cares onto Jesus and not internalize it, because it was getting to the point where I was helping one friend and I was starting to develop anxiety because she was going through an abusive relationship, and I was like, I gotta be there for her. She called me, and I was taking on too much because I'm not your savior. Right? And it would be times where we would come out, I would pull her out and then she would go back in, and I was like, oh God, if I don't be there. And God it was clear as day, and God was like, stop. I'm taking your hand off of this because she's going back. And you're going to find yourself being hurt. And every time I went in this situation, God covered me. But once God tells you to stop, you have to stop. And I'm speaking from a spiritual point of view. And in that relationship, I had to tell her that was the hardest thing that I ever had to do. I said, I cannot be here for you anymore. I said, until you're ready to come out of this, I cannot. I said, because, and I'm crying. She looking at me like, I understand. And I'm like, no, I'm hurt. Like, because you don't have that, once you cut, now you're just saying, God, just cover her.
Right.
Because it was tearing me up inside. And I was like, you just don't know. I'm feeling this. And she was like, I get it. I'm not ready. And I was like, okay. But I just kept praying for her and just kept on. And we're real close today. But I had to allow her to walk through that. And it was dramatic, and even being in the middle with them and putting myself in situations, I just was like, I was willing to do it because that's how much I'm committed to this thing. God, you got me covered, I'm in it. But it becomes a point where you have to say, who am I in this relationship? when it goes beyond you, doing, your friendly duties, if it you become their savior, if you become their crutch, then if you don't remove yourself, God will. And he had to tell me enough is enough because I wasn't allowing her to come to him. So you just, like you said, with the pulse, you have to just know, where am I at in this relationship? And I wanted to say this, even when I was going through, like I said, there are different people that God put me in their life for me to war with them, for me to endure and intercede for them. But he has never left me without someone.
Right.
So even if I'm going through something and I'm interceding for someone else, God always has someone praying and covering me and interceding for me. So it's not like I'm not getting the support from this person that I'm praying for, but God has put someone in my life. So it's just a cycle, and God is so good. He's so intentional. He would never leave you uncovered. So I don't look for this person to give me that support.
Right.
Because God has put this person. And so that's allowed me to be able to categorize my friends. So I know I have a friend that I can kick it with, and we can talk about me and an issue, but then I have another friend that we're very spiritual. Right. And then I might have another friend, we go working out and we work out and we travel, because different people have different roles in your life. And when if you know that you are the intercessor for that friendship, you know how to handle it.
Yeah.
You don't look to that person, girl, I need more support, I need a friend. You're not gonna get it.
Because you'll be left disappointed.
Right.
Yeah. And you're trying to draw something from someone that they don't have. They don't even have it in them.
No.
Exactly. There's no capacity for you in that area.
Right.
In that area.
It wasn't easy to learn. That was
Right.
hard.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. You are left heartbroken.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah. Because when you reach, when they reach, they come back with their hands filled. But when you reach, you come back with your hands empty.
Yeah.
And it's a major disappointment. But I am so happy that we had this conversation about trauma and drama, because we've all encountered somebody that's considered dramatic. And and then you see them connect with people and you're just like, how do they even tolerate them? And it's because God has given them the capacity to be patient, to be loving, to be kind, to be merciful, gracious, all of those things that are fruits of the Spirit. And so before we close out, I just want us all to just give a word of hope to the drama queen that's out there, that's because somebody's watching right now, they may be crying. Like, I'm the one that everybody looks at and say I'm dramatic, and they just don't understand what I'm going through. Right. And then I want us to give a word of hope to the people who they're connected to, that's just like, I'm the one that got to deal with that. And it's hard. So before we close out, I just want y'all ladies just to speak really quickly to those two people, and then we're going to leave y'all alone.
To the dramatic person, just take your time to kind of look what's in yourself, to see what's going on, and also know that be mindful of what comes out of your mouth, because there are consequences to what's said. So just be ready to take whatever comes with it. If you're ready to say it, be ready for whatever comes with it. The other person on the other half, the peaceful, the I'm gonna take it. Also take a look at yourself too. Like Mia said, set boundaries. And just know where you are in life, and don't try to take on a lot of stuff, but be there for that other person, because you have been given the patience that's there, and at the end of the day, pray to God to give you more patience.
For the one that's going through the trauma and the drama, I would say essentially to, of course, seek counsel and be open to hear what someone has to say regarding the situation. And to, again, be very understanding that in your need for others, that sometimes if you're not careful, you're hurting other people. And so just be mindful of that. It's like how we're taught as kids, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And just remembering that principle. If you don't want someone to say, a certain thing to hurt your feelings, then make sure you don't say things to hurt other people's feelings. Right. Just basic principle things that we learn as kids. And then to those who support our friends who are going through traumatic situations, you probably were the ones that prayed and asked God for patience. And so there you have it. That was your lesson. Whatever you ask God for patience. He will absolutely send you the test to test
yeah.
out that patience. And so you probably were the one that prayed and asked God for patience. But, because you are enduring it, that means you have the capacity to do so. And again, I don't advocate for anybody to stand in any type of toxic situation. But definitely making sure that everyone is held accountable. You hold yourself accountable for your feelings, and that you're able to speak to your friend as well.
I'm the answer to y'all prayers.
That's exactly right.
Forget you, Bridget.
That's so true. Dude, that's so true. For the person that's going through a trauma or dramatic, look in the mirror. Just look at yourself in the mirror and see if you're the type of person that you would want to be friends with. And if you don't even like your behavior at times, then how do you think other people feel?
Yeah.
Like Mia said, treat others the way you want to be treated. And just be mindful of your surroundings. I know sometimes there's times where you get hyped and you pop, that's acceptable, but just know your surroundings. Look in the mirror, know yourself, and know your truth. Be honest with yourself. And just pray about it. I'm always constantly praying Psalms 139, Lord, search me. And show me and show me any areas within me that needs to be changed or that's not lining up with your will. So that is my constant prayer. There are times that I popped off, and I was so embarrassed afterwards, but I was just like, man, you never know what situation that are new that I had. You never know how you're gonna react, and that's fine. The first time is fine, but don't make it a behavior habit, right? Don't allow that to become your character or who you are. Don't allow that to transform you. That's one. And for the person that's supportive, again, be hopeful. Don't feel like you have to take it on all by yourself. Be prayerful. Continue to pray to God for that person, and God will continue to direct you as to what to do. I am a big-hearted person. I'm always trying to help in every area that I can, but sometimes it's not for me to help that person in that area. So just be mindful, and then just ask a person, hey, what do you need for me to do? And don't assume. Just be like, hey, how can I help you in this situation? But be encouraged. You are needed. You are valued, and God is using you in an awesome way. So just be encouraged. People need caring people in their lives, even if they don't appreciate it, even if you don't feel like they appreciate you, they do in the long run. So stay encouraged, stay strong, and if God say tap out, but still be praying for them.
I would say to both, it's a process. It's a process on both sides, and it's growing pains on both sides. It's a roller coaster on both sides. There is not one emotion that the drama queen is feeling that you are not. And you may be feeling it in a different way, but it's the same emotion. And so it teaches you to be patient with yourself while you're being patient with them. To show grace to yourself while you're showing grace to them. To be self-forgiving, while you're forgiving them. And so to both of you who are listening, the drama queen and the one who is just like, breathe. It's a process, but we have gone through and we have overcome. And guess what? We're still living. And so that means, at some point we probably be the drama queen again on another level in a different situation. And then the one that's just like, I'm always having to deal with a drama queen, your time coming. Keep living, and so just remember how you were patient with them and how you're treating them. When your time rolls around, like Mia said, it's basic principles. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be patient with people how you want people to be patient with you. Show grace how you want to receive grace. All of those things, you have to remember that. So I'm really glad that you guys tuned in and you were able to have this conversation with us, because it's very personal and we can all relate. And if you can't relate at this moment, like Kisha said, just keep on living. So thank y'all ladies for joining us tonight for Girls Talk Cup. Y'all know next Friday is the same thing. Come back. We're going to have another episode of Girls Talk with a hot topic with my hot chicks. on the side of me. It's the weekend, so we're not gonna keep you. I know we was deep today, but hey, take this. Have your own girls talk. If it's ladies' night and y'all getting ready to go have dinner, let this be a conversation piece. And I pray that it opens up the box for healing, that it opens up the box for deliverance, that it opens up a box for understanding, for all of those fruits of the Spirit. Go read them. Amen. Ain't nobody can sit here and line up all them fruits. Go read the fruits, honey. Amen. Amen. Praise God. Y'all have a beautiful weekend. Join us next Friday on Girls Talk, where we keep it real, we keep it raw, and we keep it what? Classy. Y'all get us. See y'all later. Have a good weekend. Bye.
The man in me. I've been down before, but now I'm UP. I've got the same body upgrade, mind, body, brains, and put that on everything. I'm moving forward, don't wanna look back. I got my life and I got it on track. Gotta keep it pushing, so let's bring it back. Get your